Now, there are countless language learning apps on the internet. You've got your Duolingo, you've got your Lingodeer, Babbel. Who remembers Babbel? It was like super famous in the past, but no one really uses it right now. Anyway, you've got your Fluent U, whatever. You've got tons of language learning apps that are designed for different kinds of learners. There are apps for people who want to use flashcards, for people who just want to have a basic understanding of a language, and there are language learning apps for people who want to use content as their teacher. Now, you might have noticed that in my videos I talk about Lingq this and Lingq that and Lingq whatever, so you probably have seen that I really like Lingq as my go-to application or website or reader, whatever you want to call it, for my language learning. Lingq has helped me immensely in making language learning a habit and making me reach my goals in my target languages. But I figured out I've never really explained what I like about Lingq and why I like it. And I've also seen that a lot of people find Lingq extremely confusing, hard to use, they don't understand what they need to do with the website. So I just wanted to clarify some things, and maybe in the future I would like to make a Lingq tutorial for you guys if you're interested. Now, of course, no language learning app is perfect, so I'm gonna talk about the things I like about Lingq and the things I don't really like or wish that were better about this website. So here are the reasons why I love Lingq. The first reason why I love Lingq is because it gives power to the learner. It gives freedom to choose whatever you want to study. And this is also one of the most confusing things about Lingq, at least for people who start using it for the first time, because we're so used to textbook-centered learning or course, class, teacher-centered learning where other people decide the structure of what we're gonna learn, that when we use Lingq for the first time, we're super confused. Now, Lingq has things called courses, but they're not really courses in itself. At least that's not what I think. They're more a collection of lessons or single bits of language that are connected maybe by a theme or by something they have in common, but they're not really courses. You shouldn't be thinking of Lingq courses as things that you need to do from start to finish. With Lingq, you have the possibility to explore different kinds of lessons and then start reading them, listening them for a little bit. Maybe you find that you don't really like them, you just close it, open another lesson, and that's how you actually learn. I love the lack of structure that Lingq has because it gives me total freedom to just read whatever I want until I get bored and then start something else. And this is tied to the second reason why I love Lingq, which is using content that I love to learn the language. Lingq has a little thingy called the Lingq importer, which you can use in your browser. They have it for Safari and Chrome, if I'm not mistaken, and you have also the same thing on mobile. You have it for iPhone and Android phones, and what it does, it imports tons of content that you find on the internet, and it imports it as a Lingq lesson that you can now learn and say words with. Now, I love the Lingq importer because it gives me the possibility to import Netflix TV series or movies, wiki, subtitles, entire web pages, so that means lots of blog entries or Wikipedia pages. I can just with one click import all of those pages onto Lingq and study them, which has also been super useful for work because I do speak Korean at work and I have to learn some very specific vocabulary, so I usually download Wikipedia pages about what I need to talk about and just study them, which is super useful, by the way. But I can also import YouTube videos, which are great. If you find a YouTube video with subtitles in your target language, you can upload that onto Lingq, and it's really just a click of a button, and that really helps me with motivation, with sticking to a routine, because I'm always using content that is relevant to what I'm doing and my interests. The third reason why I love Lingq is their Lingq mini stories, and their mini stories, if you don't know what they are, it's exactly what the title says. They are mini stories about different characters, and they are about 60, I believe, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, they're 60 mini stories, and they go from beginner level to, I'd say, an intermediate, maybe upper intermediate kind of level, and they are told from different points of views using different tenses, different things, but it's always in one story. It's the same story told in different ways, and it's super useful because it gives you lots of repetition of the most frequent words in a language. So if you're just starting out, which is what I did with Korean actually, I started out with the mini stories and read them lots of times, listened to them lots of times. I still go back to the mini stories sometimes just to refresh some vocabulary, and they're super useful for beginners. And I've always heard this kind of criticism about Lingq, that it's really just catered towards intermediate learners who want to advance their skills, but really I think Lingq is super useful for beginners as well. And the mini stories are a great gateway for fluency, at least in your comprehension. And then my absolute favorite feature is the known word counter. Now, there is a whole debate about whether you should count words as word families without counting the morphologic aspect of a word, or if you should count every instance of a word as a different word. And this is a whole discussion that just deserves another video of its own. But just so you know, Lingq counts every single instance of a word as a different word. What this means is that every time you click that you know a specific word, that word enters a database, and that database is shown through a word counter. That counter shows you how many words you've marked as known in a language. And even though everybody says, and I say as well, that you should take that counter with a pinch of salt, that is a huge indicator of progress. And this is super important because we as language learners often underestimate our progress in the language because it's not something that is really tangible. Fluency is not a really tangible thing. It's not a really measurable thing. First of all, because everyone has different ideas of fluency, but because there are different types of fluency, and you could be fluent in one specific context of a language, but when you're talking about other things, you're not fluent. So how do you measure your progress? And the Lingq known word count really, in my opinion, is one of the best way to measure that. Now, of course, there are other things that you could use to measure your progress, such as taking an exam or just talking to people, writing, and these are all great ways. But to measure your progress in the comprehension of a language, then the known word counter is actually a great tool. I absolutely love when my known word counter rises at the end of each day, and I love comparing how many words I knew just 5 months ago, 3 months ago, and comparing it to now, and see its snowball effect in my language learning. It's super interesting, and it's really a motivational booster. And actually, I've recently reached 15,000 known words in Korean, as I shared on my Instagram, and that was a great feeling of just success in language learning. Even when I was feeling super low with my motivation and I didn't want to learn Korean or any other language for that matter, I just felt at a super low point in my language learning. Just seeing that gave me a huge booster in actually saying, you know what, you've gone a long way in your journey and you should push even a little more. And that helps putting a little bit of celebration time in your language learning journey. But of course, there are some downsides with Lingq, as with any other software or language learning app. And the first one is the price. Now, I don't really care about the price of Lingq. I don't think it's super inflated. I don't care about paying 15 euros because I actually do think that we should pay for good software. This might not be a very popular view because we're so used to have tons of softwares for free, but if it's really good, I think we should pay something. But on the other hand, I am aware that there are people in other parts of the world where they just cannot afford $15 a month to pay for a language learning software. So that might be an issue. However, there are alternatives to Lingq, and there are cheaper alternatives as well as free alternatives, so you might want to check those out. If you want me to make a video about Lingq alternatives, I'll be super glad to do that for you. So just leave a comment if you would like to see that kind of video or DM me on Instagram. But anyways, I can see why this is a very popular criticism towards Lingq. Now, one downside that I really feel strongly about is the fact that this site is not easy to navigate and has too many functions just scattered around and not really organized in a logical way. This really is something that I don't really like about Lingq, considering that we are paying for that software. And I know that aesthetics are not really important for some of you, but they really do help in making the site easy to navigate. It is especially hard to find recently imported content if you don't toggle or tick little things around the website. And let's not talk about the mobile app, which is super hard to navigate when you want to find content that you've imported maybe a week before, and you need to find it again, and you start thinking that your content has magically disappeared in the Lingq black hole of lessons. But yeah, UI UX is something that Lingq should really think about making better, considering that we're paying $15 a month. Now, I know that they have the Lingq 5.0 version coming out soon. We don't know when, but it should come out soon, so hopefully they'll make the UI UX better. But as for now, it's not really the prettiest. Talking about ugly things about Lingq, look at this guy. I mean, look at this guy. Seriously, I hate this thing. I don't like it. And another thing I don't really like about Lingq is the whole character and buying things, which makes the site feel really gimmicky. Now, if you're making a website or an application for language learners, I don't think it should have this like 5-year-old game kind of vibe. I think it should be more of a professional kind of thing, and this horrible character and the coins you obtain to buy gear for that character, to me, is just kind of stupid. I know that there are people who like having the character and like having the gear to buy for motivation purposes, but I think that there are better things like the known word counter or the Lingq streak. I think that this website is really just a mess of little motivational booster kind of gimmicky stuff, while they could just concentrate on one aspect, because they have the apple, they've got the streak, they've got the known word counter, they've got the character, they've got the coins. Like, how many motivational boosters do you need really in a language learning app? So really, to me, the things that work best are the known word counter, because it's related to language learning and it's related to the database, so that's good, and maybe the streak. But the apple and the character and the gear buying just feels really childish, at least to me. But I know that some people like it, so yeah. But seriously, that character, like, how can you like this thing? Really? How can you like this thing? And then a thing that really drives me crazy bananas about Lingq is the lack of dark mode. And I have a feeling that they might introduce dark mode in the new Lingq 5.0, but here's the thing. Dark mode has been around for some years right now, and people use Lingq mainly as a reader. It makes absolutely no sense that there's no dark mode. And I know at least that in the browser, the web app version, you can use Chrome extensions to put dark mode on Lingq, but it just doesn't work. It's just too ugly and it's hard to read, and I don't like that. I wish they could have a native dark mode from within the app that you could at least toggle on and off in order to read without straining your eyes like crazy, because this is what happens. There are times where I literally have to put my computer away or my cell phone away because I've been reading for too long on Lingq, and the eye strain gets serious. And again, for the fact that we're paying $15 a month, we should have dark mode. And then the last thing that I don't like about Lingq is the impossibility to save longer sentences. Now, when you make a link, that is when you save a word in your database, you could either save a word or a string of words, that is a sentence or whatever you want to call it, a group of words. Now, you can save a maximum of 9 words together. If you want to choose a longer sentence, the cursor just stops and it tells you no, you can just save the sentence up to here, which to me is stupid. Because there are languages with super long sentences, like Korean. Korean sometimes has some huge sentences, and sometimes you want to just save the entire sentence, but you can't because the sentence is like 20 words and you can save up to 9. So you're making 4 or 5 different links out of the same sentence, which makes all of the organizational aspect of it just crazy. Now, being that this is an app that's centered mainly on text and audio, it makes no sense whatsoever that you can just save 9 words. And I'm not sure if it's something that's hard to program or whatever, because I don't know about programming such an app, but really for language learners, you should have some freedom on how many words you want to save. Of course, it makes no sense in saving a sentence of 60 words, but there are languages that use some pretty long sentences, and it might be a good idea to let the people choose what they want to save without putting such extreme word constraints of them, because 9 words is not really a lot for a sentence. So here are my opinions on Lingq. Here are things that I like, things that I don't like, that make me go a little crazy, but all in all, I think that this is the best software when it comes to language learning. And I don't really consider Lingq to be a language learning app per se, because really to me it's a tool that I use for learning with content, but it's a tool that I use that enables me to learn a language with content I love. And that's the main premise of Lingq as a software, so that's great. But of course, being a paid app, there are some things that I wish were better, and they're taking a lot of time to implement. So there's that as well. Again, if you want to see a tutorial on Lingq for people who are curious about it but don't want to venture into it right away, they want to see kind of how it works, or for people who have been using Lingq but are still confused with how it works or how they should navigate the website, then feel free to comment down below or DM me on my Instagram, where you can actually see my Lingq progress if that's something you're interested about as well. Thank you always for watching, and if you want to support this channel to continue watching free videos about language learning and independent language learning, then like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video to people who want to learn more about language learning.